Hello guys, my name is Anna and I'm from Ukraine, and I vlog daily to keep you updated on the real-life situation in my country as the war with Russia continues. And I'm sure we have to be united to win this war, but some days are really difficult, both emotional and emotional. I know that you feel that I'm a little bit depressed, and believe me, there are lots of reasons in Ukraine for that, plus some other issues that I cannot influence, but they matter a lot to me. Of course, they are reflected in my videos, and I'm really grateful for your support. Sometimes there are things that we cannot do, no matter how hard we want to. And today I am once again going to be emotional because I want to talk about the tragedy in Dnipro, which is another example of Russian terrorism. And at first I thought maybe it is too late to speak about it because this happened on the 14th of January. And then I realized that the rescue procedures are still taking place. People are still dying from that missile attack, and many people are still hidden on the destructed location. So, as these days pass, 2 days, the tragedy is still going on, and it is okay for us to think and feel about it. So let me first introduce you to the very idea of the 14th of January. For many Orthodox, it is a holiday. It is a weird holiday that we call the Old New Year. Personally, I don't celebrate it much in my family, but those who were sympathizers of Russian Orthodoxy, of old Russian traditions and Ruski Mir to some extent, are definitely the fans of Old New Year. And it is connected with the different dates of celebrating Christmas. So if those who have Christmas on the 7th of January, it is logical that they have the New Year on the 14th of January. To some extent, it was more of a holiday tradition, not like the real calendar thing, but many people still keep that tradition. In Ukraine and in Russia, it is like a total holiday. So they have decided to kill many Ukrainians traditionally to celebrate their holidays. This is very typical for criminal Russian regime and criminal Russian society that supports Putin. And they targeted a very big missile. I have Googled and I have found information about it, and that is missile X-22. It is an old missile used for the destruction of groups of avia carrying ships in the sea, so it's huge. It is 950 kilograms, and it is very difficult to detect for the air defense systems. Close to 200 of such missiles were shot on Ukraine during this war, and none of them was stopped by air defense because they are undetectable somehow. They are old, but they are very destructive. And they were targeted on Ukraine on the 14th of January from the Kursk region and from the waters of the Sea of Azov. And here I have this question, like, we are supported by our allies, but we are not allowed to target Russian military things that are used to target Ukraine. So if anyone tells me that Ukrainians are too aggressive or something, I can be very angry. Why? Because what we do, we simply protect our territory, and we are not even allowed to react and to target our enemy. Because I don't know why. So many people were at home because it is Saturday evening. Many still celebrate that old New Year's thing. And when you read the memories and the reactions, many were telling they were cooking something, or they were celebrating something, or they were watching TV as this explosion happened. Of course, there was no information, no air raid alarm, because the missile was not detected by the air defense system. At this moment, 40 people died. 46 are missing. And I think it's a very tragic time for those who are waiting for their relatives to be found. And will their relatives be found dead or alive? And this was a high-story civilian building. Of course, Russians like to target civilian buildings. I know that there is such an organization as an Inform Napalm. These are good hackers who work as detectives, and they are able to find information. So they found information that the command to target Dnipro was, the order to target Dnipro was made by the same person who ordered to target the trade center in Kremenchuk, if you remember that, where also many civilians died in the result of the terrorist act of Russia. And so people were targeted, and this is a high-story building in a district where like nothing military, nothing industrial is working. It's just people living, going to school, buying food, and sleeping in their houses. And this house is all it was made of panels. I don't know if you have something similar, not of bricks, but of this like huge plates. That's why when it was hit by a missile, it simply collapsed, and many people were buried inside of these panels. And a very complicated rescue operation started. Lots of liters of blood were transfused. Lots of rescuers came, and it was really difficult to work, and it is still difficult to work in the conditions of smoke. -2 Celsius, so it's frosty, and wet snow, because we don't have very good weather right now. And Dnipro is far away from my region, so typically it's colder there in the east of Ukraine than in the west. In the west it is wetter. And this rescue operation is really difficult because many people spend hours or even days. Many are dead, dogs are used, and I have learned one thing that like I wish I would never know, that for example during various rescue operation of this type, from time to time they have a minute of silence. And this minute of silence is a moment when everybody stops talking and all the machines stop working, all the equipment stops, so that the rescuers are able to hear any sound that can help find a person. And sometimes people are too weak to speak, and they use flashlights on their telephones, or they write messages to their family members trying to explain where they are trapped, or they are shouting, or they are like using, I don't know. I was always very sorry for people who live in the zones that are affected by earthquakes, because this unpredictability and level of tragedy that nature can cause is really dangerous. But it is even worse and more dangerous when we have people who are doing that. This is a country, Russia. It lives, it eats, it visits cinemas. Their girl participates in Miss Universe. They read newspapers, they smell croissants. Everything is okay for them. And so many Ukrainian lives are destroyed just because they are Ukrainians and just because Russians support Putin. Yes, I blame Russians for the regime they created and for the regime they continue supporting and for the regime they mobilize themselves to. So right now, 40 people are dead, among them 3 innocent children. Lots and lots of people injured, and we don't know how will they live with that traumas. Many people are still missing, and those who survived and managed to escape say they will never forget what they've seen, what they've heard in the process of running down the stairs, in the cases where stairs were still working, and so on. So when we are asking for help and we're talking about the cruelty of Russia, it is not statistics. It is not something ordinary happening. It is a huge, painful tragedy online in the center of Europe in the 21st century, without no particular reason apart of a crazy dictator and the country nourished by him. And I do believe we will win, and it cannot be a different way. But why so long? Why so painful? Why so many Ukrainians have to die? So many beautiful people, not zombies who came to kill innocent people, but beautiful people who stood to protect their families. There was one picture that I came across on Facebook of a girl sitting on the remains of her flat, and it was pretty difficult for rescuers to reach her because it's the fourth floor, something like the house is open and she's sitting on the remains of everything, and her parents are missing and she doesn't know whether they are alive or not, and her boyfriend died a couple of months ago on the front lines fighting for Ukraine. And there are many stories like that. Or today many policemen and others are advised not to ask children, where is your mother or where is your father? Because the answer may be very sad. So typically they ask, where is your adult? And this is all just because we are Ukrainians, just because we chose to live a better, more free life, to focus on the success of our neighbors and to try to learn something from them and try to forget our totalitarian past. So please don't give up on us, because this is a global danger. And we will stay strong, but forgive us that sometimes we feel sad and we feel sad. Anyway, thank you very much for your attention to the channel. If you're new to my videos, please subscribe, because the world needs to know more about Ukraine. Thank you for buying me coffees, for becoming my patrons. Introduce yourself to our Soviet myths debunked videos, as they try to uncover toxic Soviet myths that still fuel Russian military machine. And thank you for standing with Ukraine. It is very important, maybe even more important than it was at the beginning. Slava Ukraini!